You are now listening to Carlie's Couch.
I'm Carlie.
And I'm Lex.
In this podcast, we discuss a wide array of topics about life and how to live your best life.
Whatever that looks like for you.
Hope y'all enjoy. This week on Carlie's Couch, we explore Mel Robbins' Let Them theory to help you reduce stress and improve your relationships with others, but more importantly, yourself.
Welcome to Carlie's Couch. Happy Monday or whatever day it is. I am Lextopia.
And I am Carlie Carpio. Hit the Will Smith on you. / CC Fierce.
It's funny because in my head I was like, I know that, but I didn't quite. Yeah.
That's going to be the cover for sure.
That's funny.
I've been having fun with the covers, so if y'all been on the YouTube, let me know what covers you like. I've been running tests.
Yes, so we hope that you are enjoying our new little tweaks here and there. Follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, whatever.
TikTok, all the places.
Yeah, TikTok, wherever you watch, listen to podcasts. We are there. Today we are going to start with a question from the couch. So when you see us post with the hashtag QFTC, that's the question from the couch, and that means your answers will probably get discussed and hopefully laughed at in an episode. So today's question, Carlie, let us know what that is.
It is, what was your last embarrassing moment?
So I struggled with this one because I was like, I can't think of anything. The types of things that are embarrassing for me are like if something goofy happens, like, if you kind of trip a little bit outside, like stuff like that. But like, there's not too many moments. However, this first one is from me. And this is the last thing I could think of, but this is almost like a little deep, like embarrassing moment, not like a cut. I was with friends and I said something real mean and I got called out. But I think what embarrassed me is the fact that instantly I knew like, I was just in a miserable moment. Like it was some other stuff, you know what I mean? So I was like, dang, they done got me. They done seen that I'm really going through something. Cause it was like, you didn't have to say all that, but I did need to say all that because my soul wasn't in the right place. But that's the last thing I could think of. I couldn't think of nothing crazy, but the rest of them are probably a little more funny.
Yeah. Okay. So, someone said they slipped and fell down the stairs, but they are okay. I'm gonna share mine. So that was someone else.
When you slip from like, no, hold up. It don't matter if you slip from 2 steps or 20 steps. They both, your eyes will flash both times. Because the 2 steps even crazier because then you're like, whoa, like.
The 2-step one is the worst.
Yeah, because you thought you knew and it's like, dang, it's one more step.
So actually I'll go into the suitcase one. So shout out to my line sister for sharing this on her story. So I feel like it's fair game. So she posted a picture of her suitcase. It's like a little suitcase and the little handle that pops out like was broken off.
Oh,
and then she took a picture. No, and then she was like, and then the next one was like a face palm. And she said what happened was that she got on the escalator. Her little suitcase was on the step behind her. And so then all of a sudden she hears, doo, doo, doo. And she said she started looking around. Everybody looking around like, what the fuck is that? And she said turn around. Her suitcase like had landed at the bottom. And she was so embarrassed. So she tries to hurry and go down the down escalator. Yeah. And then somebody went up the up escalator with it trying to get her. So now they're going around in circles. And then her
moment.
She was like it was like a Looney Tunes moment. And then like the handle broke. And then the little handle comes off and it's just wires, y'all. So Looney Tunes moment. So shout out to her for that. And then my last one that I just remember dying laughing. So someone was so excited to share bubblegum ice cream with me and wanted me to try some. And I was excited. And then I tried some. And immediately, first bite, I felt my crown come out and get stuck in the bubble gum. And I was like, oh my God. Like,
that is embarrassing.
I was like, oh my God. And he was like, oh, you don't like it? And I was like, do I lie? Like in my head, it was like, do I just lie? Because I'm on a date. Exactly. I'm like, don't worry about me. Worry about your tooth. Like,
that's
so
real.
I just told him, I said, yo, the bubble gum took out my crown. So now it's like an ongoing joke.
I think that has happened to me before too. Oh, I'm eating something and I heard a crunch and like part of it was like, damn, I was like, I'm chewing up my tooth now. But I ain't say nothing because that's crazy.
Yeah. Larry June, for real out here in the
right.
streets.
Every time I hear that Larry June say, don't check me, check that back tooth, I'll be like,
you right.
Damn, you right. I need to get my priorities together. Because that crowd came out and I said, vaya con Dios. I ain't worried about it.
God.
Anyway, enough about my dental problems. We're going to talk about Mel Robbins' Let Them philosophy. Mel Robbins, if you're not familiar with her, she is, I guess, do you call it self-help? Self-improvement-ish in that field. She does have some really cool things, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The
high-fiving yourself. There's a lot of scientific things behind that. Which is, now that I'm thinking about this, she has a lot of 5 things. But anyways.
Like it's 5 keys or something?
Yeah, like little like nuances.
Yeah, lots of little tips and ways to build positive habits, and kind of take yourself into the next space. So one of these is called the let them philosophy. Let them.
I saw a TikTok, which then caused me to research more about it. And in the TikTok, Mel says, if your friends want to go to brunch without you, let them. If, you're dating someone and they don't want to be in a relationship, but you do, let them. If, someone says something about you, let them. And she was talking about the importance of it. And I was like, I think that that's kind of an interesting thing to explore.
We could pretty much like put this into one sentence, that it's essentially letting people do what they're going to do. You only worry about how you are then going to respond and or move forward with that person.
Yeah.
Okay. Easy enough. I feel like we've talked about that a little bit in different episodes here and there. So would you agree, and are we saying that our only responsibility is to decide how we will respond to the behavior of others? When it comes to interpersonal relationships, our only job is to worry about how we respond.
I never thought about it in those words, but yeah, actually.
So I feel like it sounds simple, just to say that, right? Like, your only responsibility is you.
Sounds simple.
It sounds simple.
Application.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, so what are some reasons why that's hard? Why it is hard, or why it can be hard?
I think one is like, because people want certain things from people. They want, like,
we have expectations.
You think that's
a human thing?
I think expectations are okay. We have a whole episode about why expectations are important and communicating them, and why having them is a good thing. And that's cool. You deserve that. But I think that we start to try to control other people to fit our expectations, or to protect ourselves, or to like keep this narrative, whatever is in our lives. And so that's when it becomes hard, because then we have to trust that if we're not controlling a situation, it's still going to turn out favorably for us or in a kind way. And if we can't control and make things happen, then like, man, what's going to happen? And I think that's part of the scary part of just letting things be.
Literally, this whole episode is about minding your business. Only focus on your tasks. So know what's yours and what's somebody else's. So as you said, because expectations, and humans have expectations. 2, it could be hard because of ego curbing. In relationships, a lot of times it's your ego that won't let you just be like, I'm walking away from something, because ego says, if being with me doesn't motivate him to change, if he doesn't what does that say about me?
And I'm not worth it.
And so you're really looking at yourself as in like, I'm so awesome, like of course this will work, or this will change, or this will whatever.
And I think that's both ways. So I think on one side of that coin is ego, and on the other is really low confidence, or low self-worth, in the sense that you're allowing other people's actions to dictate how you feel about yourself. And so then thinking about like, oh, like they didn't call me, I must not be good enough, or he didn't want to stay with me, or the relationship's not getting better, or whatever's going on, and you start to personalize that in a different way. So less ego, more self-debilitating. And so watching like anything you're taking personally, and recognizing that, I like that you said, knowing what's theirs and knowing what's ours, like that's not you trying to do anything to make them act a certain way, or to show up better for you, or to make them see you. You can't make anybody see you.
Right. And it's hard not to take things personally, especially in relationships with people in general. What's one more reason why this is kind of hard?
Boundaries. I would say, in the sense that, like, if you're a people pleaser, or I'm trying to think of a good example of boundaries. And
hold on, but like, let's say if you're in a relationship with somebody who's like super duper duper messy, like they, people live differently than you, and you go to their home and like you always clean up behind them, or like you don't have any boundaries of expressing like, hey, I like space a certain way, or you're just doing things for them, and or letting them do something that's stepping over your boundaries, because you're not able to kind of like let them go. So like this case, it's like let them be who they are. And if it's crossing your boundaries, then you need to respond accordingly, as opposed to, trying to like get all up in it and all that. It's so messy. Like dealing with other people's stuff is such a weight on your shoulders that a lot of times I know for me, I haven't realized until I got it up off my shoulders, and then realized like, it's so freeing to not care about other people, like, and not worry about what they're doing. If I just worry about, that's going on. okay, cool, I can get with that. That's going on. I can't get with that. And keep it moving.
Yo, my therapist be on. Okay, so I have an issue, and I was actually talking about this today. Like, I'm a big empath, and I got a big heart, and I, used to be Captain Save-A-Ho. I don't have boundaries now, but it's hard for me to separate sometimes. And he was like, it's okay to care, but not take care. You can care about people, but not take care of them. You don't have to fix things. You don't have to start doing a thing. You don't have to fix that situation so then you can show up instead of y'all meeting at their house. Maybe they just come to yours, or maybe you go out, or maybe you remove yourself from the situation completely because that's your boundary. It's not your job to fix things just because you care about a person.
Right. And oftentimes we're going like 90% in to help them get a little steps to feel like they did something. And it's like,
but then you're overexerting. Yeah, but then you're overexerting and not caring about yourself. And so take that away is like, you can care, but you don't have to take care. And that's really hard for anybody who is parentified, who is a big sister, who has a big heart, all these things. It gets really tough. Just care, don't take care.
That's really good. If you get that, then I think you have the essence of the episode. At the end of the day, like when you strip away all of that and you just care without overexerting, I feel like that's a game changer. So how do we apply let them philosophy into our lives, our situations, etc.?
Okay, and so just talking through a few situations that might be sticky. So let's say, all right, so your friends like decide to take a trip or go on a vacation or have an event and you're not invited.
You might be dating somebody and you want different things out of the relationship. That's an instance in which, okay, cool. You need to hear what somebody is saying they want and let them do what they need to do.
And then part ways accordingly if it doesn't fit what you need. If a roommate or if your roommate like isn't as clean as you, now I feel like that has to be a conversation.
Those were the college days.
Yeah,
when people used to play Jenga with the trash can, like, bro, somebody take this out. Like, what are y'all doing?
But could also be a conversation, but just not letting it control your peace, or then moving out and living by yourself if they don't meet your standards.
It literally could be anything. Like when you go out with people, if they do things differently than you, or if they do something that you're kind of like you feel kind of disappointed about it repeatedly. Like if you're repeatedly feeling some kind of way, you need to make a decision. I guess that's here what she's saying is like, how many times is something that happened before you make a decision to like not let that press you and not let that worry you? So it's really important. But it also happens in professional relationships too, which are kind of a little different because you may not necessarily, I think, yeah, you do. I was going to kind of take it back, but I think you do need to have a little more couth with professional relationships because that don't mean you be like, oh, to your boss and, say something crazy to them or people you work with or have to see every day to pay your bills. And so I think in this case, that's what I would say is like when you have to handle like somebody who's frustrating around the office, let's say people talking about different political things around the water cooler. It's like, what would you say, Carlie? Like, what's the let them philosophy look like in a case like that where it's like they're talking, about something and it's not really your vibe?
It depends. So like if it was an actual friend or somebody who I feel like they'll listen and hear me, like we could have a conversation about those things. But for example, I was at a friend's birthday party recently and somebody said, Trump this, Trump the blah, blah, blah. I'm not about to argue with you. You're not hearing me. I don't even know if you could logically understand where I'm coming from in this situation. I'm going to let you act a fool and just say whatever you want to. Like, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But I am one of those people like stand up for what you believe in and say things, but also you have to know the time and place. And a lot of times the workplace, like, might not be the best place for that. I'm not saying you should never talk about politics, but I remember like my first internship, I had a superintendent. I was 18. Superintendent in construction cussed me out because I voted for Obama. Cussed me out in front of people on the job site.
So he wasn't practicing let them.
He was not practicing let them. But also he's the one who asked me. He brought it up. I wasn't about to say nothing. My mama told me don't talk about politics on the job site. I'm the only person of color and I'm the youngest person and I'm a woman. Like, are y'all old white man? But yeah, he cussed me out. It was a whole thing. And I was like upset. It was a whole thing. But that was the wrong place to have that conversation. Probably should have never happened. But if they're in the right settings and you think people are listening, I think it's important to say stuff. I would say when it's not a thing to necessarily just let them, if you have subordinates or like people who are supposed to be getting things done and they're not, that's a whole conversation. And if they want to choose to continue to not show up in the best way or get work done or do the things, you can let them go. That's letting them show up how they want to show up without it stressing you. But I think the bigger piece is like not taking it home. Like, I can imagine going home, be like, oh, my team still didn't get everything done. And then you carrying around all this stress, and then you upset, and then you angry, and then you all this. And it's like, you can't control that. You can control what you can control. You can have a conversation. You can reprimand them. You can let them go. You can whatever, move them to a different role, like something. There's different ways to let people.
So what I'm hearing from what you said is like in this professional setting, you brought up expectations of like getting the work done. So I guess probably personal and professional, but I think it's easier to define it in the professional sense. Being clear with people what their expectations are for the work that they're here to do. Anything outside of that is hey, to your point, if you're coming at a conversation not to actually be curious and have a real conversation, which you can always tell pretty quickly, and if it's not going to be respectful, then it's let them think what they think, let them say what they're going to say, and don't let that bother you because there's nothing for you to change there. There's no reason for you to do anything. If it's around the expectations of our job, then we need to talk about this needs to get done in an appropriate way according to what you're getting paid for. So I think that is kind of easier and a good way to think about what this looks like in the workplace for sure.
Yeah. And so I think part of when you're thinking about implementing this, whether it be in a workplace or in relationships, you're observing actions. You're hearing words, but you're observing actions and how people show up more so than just listening to what they say.
Another way to implement this is reflecting on your own choices and your own responses a little more, and just kind of a refocus on, instead of what's in front of you, like on like how I'm going to respond or what is this bringing up for me.
And there's this quote about there's no growth or no learning without reflection. And I think that's so important because if I look back at those situations where I was justifying things and all that, had I just really sat and reflected, I probably wouldn't have stayed so long or let, said behavior stay in my life so long. And then, if I knew and was checked in with myself, which is where we start everything. If my self-care is good, if I'm taking care of myself, if I know what I want and I'm, able to assert myself, then you're able to, show up better in all these situations. So always starting with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And then one thing I think it's important for us to clarify here, though, is that letting somebody be who they are, letting them be and exist and not trying to change them does not mean passivity on your side, nor does it mean a lack of engagement. So that doesn't mean that you're letting people step all over you or letting them do something harmful. What does this mean about how we need to communicate?
It means you need to know yourself. You need to communicate your expectations, your wants, your needs, your boundaries, and then you can choose when to remove yourself if they're not being met or how you need to respond, but you've said it. So it doesn't mean like let it be just whatever. It's let them act accordingly with the information that you've given them.
Okay. Alrighty. So I hope that you all are getting something from this conversation. Probably you're thinking about people or instances or things where it's like, man, if I could just like not care about what's going on there, like maybe my life would be easier. And I know like saying that, it sounds like it's something easy, but like it is very hard. And yet it's like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, that's just what needs to be done. It's like, imagine not caring like what somebody else is doing and you moving along. Because quite frankly, what do people say when it's like, I was born alone, now die alone, all that? Like essentially like you'll be fine. You're only extending the time in like suffering or extending time in a space that you don't necessarily need to be in or that's not helping you do anything. So we're going to end the episode by going through all the benefits of this, the benefits of practicing a let them philosophy. The first of which is enhanced emotional well-being, because guess what? My stress is reduced and my emotions feel clear. My brain feels clear. This is how I've been feeling the last few weeks. It's just been like, oh, like, I don't really know how it happened or what happened, but like nothing is a problem. Nothing's bothering me. Nothing anybody else is doing has anything to do with me. And I don't feel stressed out because a lot of times we're being stressed over other people's stuff.
And whenever you're not overexerting yourself, whenever you're not taking things too personally, you can improve your relationships. And so that's another benefit. You have more authentic connections because you're being real. You're telling them what you need, what you want. You're willing to walk away if you don't get it, and clear communication.
Practicing this also helps you to increase your personal empowerment. So now you're more focused on what you can control. If I'm practicing this and all I'm worried about is how I respond to things, that's powerful to take that into your own hands of like, oh, I actually can move in any way I want to, regardless of what's going on around me. And it also lets you make better decisions. So I'm more focused on decisions that make sense as opposed to trying to take on your stuff in my decisions as well.
And all that focus starting with yourself, you have enhanced self-awareness. So you're able to like reflect and know what's important to you and recognize, you know, where you are in your life and where you want to be, and notice where opportunities for growth are. And then you can focus all of your energy there instead of on other people's stuff. Mm-hmm.
Another is increased resilience. And I've actually seen this too. You become more adaptable. It doesn't matter if this person finishes a thing, or it doesn't matter if this person asks me out to eat. I'm adaptable. I already have other plans I can make. I'm fine to be like, okay, cool, and do something else. You don't feel the need to change others. So it's reduced conflict. And by that, I think of that as like when I'm online, for example, somebody says something like, okay, like there's nothing else. You don't need to respond. Like, who cares? Like, you reduce so much conflict when you are focused on just how you respond to things, because you realize like everything doesn't need a response, and or like think what you think. Like, I'm not about to go back and forth with you.
And I think it's a great time for this episode with what's going on in the world. So y'all keep
it's
y'all
a lot
peace
of just
mind.
like okay to people like
okay, more effective communication with people who you actually want to communicate with, because you're clearly letting them know your expectations. They're clearly telling you theirs, so y'all can be in alignment. You're having constructive conversations, not just arguments. And then I feel like there's less blow-ups over stuff that y'all haven't talked about, or from pressure of people, like unmet expectations that they're not communicating, because we're all communicating.
Yeah. And lastly, practice better self-care, because you're more focused on what you need and what's going on with you. And so in this case, you're avoiding burnout, because again, I'm not taking on everybody's stuff, so I'm not feeling burnt out. And also I'm prioritizing myself. So there's a lot of benefits. I would suggest you care less.
Or if you are caring, just not to take care.
I suggest you take care less.
Yeah, so care, but don't take care. Shout out to my therapist. But we encourage you to look more into Mel Robbins' Let Them theory. See how you can apply it to your life. And let us know what you think. You can hit us at Carlie's Couch on every single platform ever. Follow us on all of those if you haven't. And see if you can focus on this for the rest of the week. And let us know how it goes.
Have a good one.